And all of his MAGA minions, many of his MAGA minions, I guess I should say, have been lying to the country for days. They have lied to all of us over and over and over again.
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated.
We have obliterated the Iranian nuclear program.
We are confident, yes, that Iran's nuclear sites were completely and totally obliterated.
Iran's nuclear program has been completely and totally obliterated. I feel like maybe they had a note card that said obliterated on it and they gave it to all those people and made them say it. Who knows? But that was the message from the Trump administration since Saturday night. Clearly, that's what they kept saying over and over and over again. Even, by the way, as top members of the military, including high-ranking people within this administration, were saying it was too early to make an assessment. Because it was too early to make an assessment. And now here are the headlines from this afternoon. Here's one from CNN. Early U.S. intel assessments suggest strikes on Iran did not destroy nuclear sites. From the New York Times, strikes set back Iran's nuclear program by only a few months, U.S. report says. That's according to an initial classified intelligence assessment, which reportedly found that the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, quote, did not collapse their underground buildings and set back Iran's nuclear program by only a few months. In fact, from all this reporting, a lot of it came out this afternoon, it turns out that much of Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium was moved before the strikes, which destroyed little of the nuclear material. In our own reporting, NBC News put an even finer point on it, saying, quote, an initial assessment by the Defense Intelligence Agency concludes that the U.S. airstrikes conducted over the weekend on Iran's nuclear enrichment sites were not as effective as Donald Trump said. To state the obvious, claiming you obliterated Iran's nuclear program doesn't make it so. And it's something that people then assess, including the military. But for Trump, it's always about the one day of headlines, the one-word slogan, claiming victory right off the bat, about obfuscation and defiance being prioritized over facts. And that will continue, I expect, even in the face of these new facts. Takes, for example, the statement released today by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Here's what she had to say. This alleged assessment is flat out wrong and was classified as top secret, but was still leaked by an anonymous low-level loser in the intelligence community. Whew, there's a lot to unpack there. Couple questions here. If the assessment is flat out wrong, why was it classified as top secret, as she also characterized it? And if it's top secret, why do low-level losers, as she called them, have access to it? Lots of questions there. Her statement obviously makes no sense. Of course it doesn't. But we see this cycle constantly. Donald Trump says something, facts and reality say something else, and then his people have to kind of twist themselves into knots trying to explain why he's right and we're all apparently crazy, though we're not. I mean, it was just yesterday that Trump announced that he had brokered a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. In fact, he was so confident in his negotiation skills that he told NBC News, quote, I think the ceasefire is unlimited. It's going to go forever. I don't believe they will ever be shooting at each other again. But that statement had a shelf life of a few hours because Israel and Iran started firing at each other overnight, just a few hours after he said that. Even Trump couldn't deny that reality. And the embarrassment that his ceasefire wasn't as forever as he had hoped, and all those big feelings, apparently, prompted him to drop an F-bomb on the White House lawn this morning.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Well, someone is a little cranky today, it seems. But that was the pure unvarnished reaction you get when Trump cannot spin away the truth. When facts on the ground make it impossible for him just to declare victory and kind of walk away. And we can expect to see more of it because Trump's spin on these Iran strikes keeps falling apart every day. I mean, for days now, Trump has been contradicting his own intelligence chief, saying that Iran was suddenly closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. That's what he said. That's what he said started this war in the first place. But as the Washington Post reveals, Netanyahu's decision to strike Iran had been in the works for months, even before Trump was elected, and was more kind of a strike of opportunity than a strike of necessity. I mean, the Post reports that when Netanyahu finally launched a surprise attack on Iran, The decision was not so much driven by new intelligence indicating an Iranian sprint for a nuclear weapon or any imminent threat to Israel. Rather, Israel seized on what it saw as a unique opportunity to execute plans, carefully laid months and even years in advance. In other words, the urgency of the attack had nothing to do with brand new intelligence about Iran's nuclear program. Israel just needed a pretext to carry out the attack they had already planned, that Netanyahu had been having dreams about for years, and a potentially willing partner in the White House to help them do it. See, Trump wants people to believe that Iran was on the brink of obtaining a nuclear weapon, of having one to use, and that he stopped them just in time by obliterating Iran's nuclear program. He thinks he can tell the American people whatever story he wants, that we're all just going to follow him like the MAGA lemmings do, not going to read the fine print, not going to learn anymore. But the American people can see what is going on. They don't like it. Of course they don't. I mean, a new CNN poll out today finds that a majority of Americans disapprove of Trump's decision to strike Iran by a 12-point margin. People are not buying what Trump is selling.